Hello friends and welcome to Pathologic Volume 5, Episode 17. Today we will be doing some dividing of a grid into some shapes in a puzzle called Tetro-Kinds. And before we jump in, one more reminder that I am looking for your puzzle submissions, so head on over to the Discord for instructions on how to submit those. And in order to play today's Tetro-Kinds, we need to know what it's all about. So let's take a look at the rules. In Tetro-Kinds, we will divide the grid into regions of 4 orthogonally connected cells. Or, in other words, tetrominoes. We've got our traditional Tetris shapes that we're going to be putting into the grid. A clue represents how many different shapes the regions touching the clue are in, counting rotations and reflections as the same. So the clues are the numbers in these boxes that are at the vertices of the grid. And for example, this 2 is saying that the 2 cells that are around this are in different shapes, meaning one of them is a T and one of them is an I. And to give the counterexample, this one clue is also touching 2 different areas, but they are the same shape. They're both eyes, so it's a 1. And this 2 is touching 2 L's. Note that they're reflected, but that's fine. They're counted as the same shape. They're both L's, and 1 O, so that satisfies the 2 clue. Those are the rules of Tetro-Kinds. So it's time to solve a puzzle. Today's Tetro-Kinds was set by Freddie Hand. What do we know? The first thing I think I should do is note where we have a replete clue where we know that all of the cells it touches are in different shapes. So this 4 is an example of that. The 2 on an edge is an example of that, and that might be it. We can't immediately do the same thing with on the other end. Like this 1 clue, we don't know that these 2 are in the same region. We just know that they're in the same shape type. Could be actually the same shape, or it could be 2 separate regions of identical shapes. But the 4 has given us a starting point. Actually, the 2 is a little weaker. The 4 is very strong because these 2 top ones, we know that they've got to grow, and they're bordered. They're stopped by another wall and need to keep going. Same thing's over here, and they can't loop back in because then that would be an O, and that would break the 4 clue. So we can draw walls there. This actually continues and is done as an L. And that tells us that this one can't continue south because it would be an L and the 4 wouldn't be a 4 anymore. We'd have 2 of the same shape. So this has got to become an S. Now we've got a couple other dead ends that need to get started. These are not the same shape, so this has to keep going. And this can't be an L in either direction because, again, the 4 clue would be broken. So this has got to become an I. And this, we know it is not L, I, or S. So what is left? T and O. And it's certainly not an O. There's nowhere to finish off that O. So it is a T, and there's only one way to do that. I can just draw that in. The 2 here, we're starting up here, and this can't be an I because then both of these shapes would be the same, and our 2 would be a 1. So this must be an L. These 2 both come out like this, and this has only one option. It's got to become an I. This can't be an I because we need this to be a 2 clue, so this has got to turn and become an L. This 1 is extremely interesting now because it's not an O. It's not a single area. It is multiple areas that each have the same shape. And we know that that shape is an eye from this region. So these are all, so there's going to be at least two, because this can't be all one shape anymore. So there's at least two eyes in this area. And whichever one is, I think there's probably easier places for me to be looking, but this is too interesting to stop. This cell, this is an eye, and so it either goes vertically or horizontally, and either way, it's taking up 2 of the 4 cells around this 3 clue. So that means we're going to have the eye and then 2 others on the other side and no repeats. But we know which direction, because it can't go north. If it went north, we'd strand this cell all by itself. So it, in fact, does go horizontally. And this is good because we need another eye in this corner, and that's really all we can fit there. This is exactly the same one. This is another 1 clue that has an eye in it. So this is other side is also an eye shape. Now we've got 3s with 2 of the cells belonging to the same region. So we've got to split those up. And these cells are all, because of the dead ends, those are all part of the same shape. Okay, that gives us a little less now. So this comes out here. They could link up and make an eye, or they could both turn. Oh, if they both turned, then we'd, even if we could make them different shapes, which I don't think we could, we would still not be able to satisfy the 3 clue because we'd only have 2 regions. So in fact, these are an eye, and this is broken up into 2 different shapes down here. And we got a dead end. The 2 clue is going to be satisfied no matter what shape is in here, because it can't be an eye. It's probably going to be an O. Could it be anything else? No. I'm going to say no. Because if it were something else, if it weren't an O, then we'd get at most 3 cells out of this area. We'd have to come out of this area, which means we need to use this cell. And whatever we didn't use in this area would be stranded. So this has to be an O. That makes this a dead end. That comes out there. Okay, finishing this off is going to be interesting. The 3 clue here is satisfied if this is an L, but it's also satisfied if it's an S. Those are the 2 choices. This 3 clue could do pretty much anything, just not an I. This 3 clue, oh, we do have a little bit to go on. This has to touch 3 different shapes, and these 2 are part of the same shape. So we can draw those in, which means we can draw this line in. And it also means we finish this one. That's a T. So this is going to have to be an L to go over here, because if not, then how are we going to have either of these not be stranded? If these 2 both don't both match up with this, then they've got to escape out here, and then there's not enough room for this clue anymore. So this has got to be an L over here, which means this can't be an L. That's what we needed. So that makes this an S and this an S, and that's okay. It's okay that they're the same because they don't have a clue in common. They're 2 different clues. So that would be an S, and that is how we solve a Tetro-Kinds.